Madam Speaker, in a country with a history of an entrenched political dynasty and two members of the entrenched political dynasty of Congress going ahead and winning members of parliament Lok Sabha elections from the opposite party, that tells you a lot about what kind of a political leader India wants and what kind of a political leader the people see and what kind of a political leader legacy a political leader leaves. Right? Madam Speaker, we believe there are two metrics you need to judge this debate on. First, the kind of legacy a political leader wants to leave and how necessarily that political legacy is achieved. Secondly, with 3 months to go for the elections, what other kinds or how do you maximize or how does Akhilesh Yadav maximize his potential for winning those elections? These are the two metrics you need to base this debate on. Madam Speaker, we believe the kind of legacy and a kind of potential or maximizing potential that a politician has and how a long political career is, we believe it is based purely on the electoral success of that leader. If that party, if that person is selected into the Lok Sabha, into anywhere, we believe that's the kind of legacy which is left with the leader and not how he looked or how she looked and not necessarily which party he or she came from, right? We believe the kind of legacy is only and only based on electoral successes wherein the vested interests of the leader take primacy. The vested interest in terms of winning the election, the vested interest in terms of gaining power, the vested interest in terms of consolidating support. We believe in the kind of vested interest that Akhilesh Yadav has right now and in the context of the UP elections in 2017, we believe is really important, right? What's the kind of scenario within the UP, right? We believe there is deep fragmentation in terms of how BJP has now consolidated the poor vote. But on a secondary level, we believe that the idea within BSP that Akhilesh Yadav is now being used as a puppet by his father. Mulayam Singh Yadav released a statement today that if need be, not right now, I will fight against my own son. That's the kind of narrative which is flowing through the BSP right now, and that's the kind of narrative which BJP exactly wants, given how it's consolidated poor vote due to demonetization. We believe that consolidation of poor vote, and secondly, and how necessarily SP is using Akhilesh Yadav, it is a situation of irreconcilable differences within the party. The kind of party that is now necessarily divided in a manner where it is the two factions being created and necessarily being divided on those lines, right? I believe that's a problem. Necessarily, not right now, Akhilesh Yadav has 3 months to contest those elections, which is where we come to the second metric of this debate. 3 months and Akhilesh Yadav needs that power. Akhilesh Yadav wants to go ahead and become the Chief Minister of UP. How does he do that? In terms of that metric, we believe the kind of maximizing potential is necessarily based on a few things. A, having grassroots leaders, having grassroots connections, having the visibility on the grassroots level. Secondly, what you also need is a kind of accumulated capital in terms of economic capital, which is how you get the visibility. Third, which is how you also get now your man force, your cadre, who goes ahead and spreads the message of the leader of the party throughout the people, right? And that's the kind of credibility, and that's how your credibility is based on that, right? We believe that kind of metric is there for maximizing the potential for Akhilesh Yadav to go ahead and win the election. And that necessarily also Akhilesh Yadav needs to do is that expand his own idea of a political support, given that how the BJP, not right now, has consolidated the poor support and has taken away necessarily from the SP's vote share. We believe within that metric, what are the kind of alternatives that Akhilesh Yadav is right now looking at, right? A, he cannot go to the BSP because BSP have right now no political traction whatsoever in UP. He cannot go to Congress because Congress have no political traction within UP. We believe there are two major alternatives right now. A, form an independent party, or B, go ahead and join the BJP. Really, the kind of situation, the toxic situation brewing within SP necessarily harms his chances of ever going ahead and gaining that popularity within the party itself. We believe he's already lost the legitimacy of half the party. We believe that's a problem for Akhilesh Yadav. Therefore, if he goes ahead and forms a new party, what does he have? He has time constraints of 3 months for the UP elections. What he also has is a lack of time and resources to engage on trivial issues with the election commission, like go for election symbol, go for grassroots leader, accumulate the capital in those 3 months, and establish the credibility of this very new party within the scenario of UP elections, right? He has 3 months to do all of that. And that necessarily is a time constraint, not right now in the next minute, that's necessarily the time constraint which doesn't function in the favor of Akhilesh Yadav. We believe also, at best, all we can get in terms of grassroots connections for the BSP is at best half of the connections from the party, right? The second alternative which Akhilesh Yadav right now has is BJP. Now we're assuming in this situation when the BJP has made the offer, A, it is a credible offer, and B, it is on Akhilesh Yadav's terms. Because BJP is now seeking out Akhilesh Yadav to necessarily contest elections for them. Therefore, that offer is necessarily not right now, is necessarily on how Akhilesh Yadav wants to function, on how Akhilesh Yadav wants to fight the elections, and how Akhilesh Yadav will go ahead and consolidate his own vote bank with the vote bank of the BJP. Really, that's where the credibility of the offer lies. Go ahead.
Given that as of today, he has been given the right to use the SP chin, the right to that party, something that Mulayam Singh no longer has. Why do you think that he has a weak chance of contesting these elections as SP?
That's the problem with their statement. He has been given that. That's the kind of tokenism that the SP is now functioning, is that this Akhilesh Yadav is now necessarily going ahead and functioning on the idea that the kind of tokenism is that we give you this, but even though he has the election commission's approval for that symbol, we don't think he has the approval within the party also. A divided party is not good for Akhilesh Yadav. Within that, we believe also, when you go ahead and look at the context of the 2014 national elections, the kind of BJP won 50 plus seats out of 80, right? BJP won those 50 plus seats. Really, the kind of control that every MP has in a UP district is much, much more than Akhilesh Yadav will right now have, right? Madam Speaker, we also believe when the BJP has the control, it also has the ability to access all the grassroots levels of cadres, all the capital that is accumulated over the past 2 to 3 years after the 2014 elections, and it access the kind of metric we set out for you right before this, right? The kind of cadres you need, the kind of grassroots level access you need, and the kind of support you need. We believe, at best, his own support is not being alienated because what they want is the best for themselves. We believe the kind of people who support Akhilesh Yadav are now necessarily coming with the kind of support that BJP also needs. Because what they see is that we're joining forces versus we're alienating our own forces. Because anyone who Akhilesh Yadav gives a ticket to will come to him and will not necessarily be alienated by him. We believe they also have vested interest and therefore his own support from the party right now will not be alienated if he goes ahead and joins the BJP. We believe if they're going to run the idea that he can reject this offer and use this as leverage for the SP is necessarily falsified because the kind of narrative that the SP has been functioning on, the kind of narrative that people have been seeing through the SP is the kind of tokenism the SP is doing, is the kind of division within the SP, is the kind of puppet he's being made out of the whole drama within the SP. We believe that it's inherently problematic for his image as a leader, inherently problematic of the division of the party, and with that, we're really, really proud to propose.
Madam Speaker, I'll talk about two things during the course of my speech. One, why joining BJP is problematic and how BJP can never win elections given the status quo and given the problems which BJP is facing right now. And two, given that Mridul also thinks it's important in this debate how Akhilesh Yadav will function inside the BJP if or if not he wins the elections or not, right? And these are the two things. But before I do that, some factual corrections are in order, right? We think after today, Samajwadi Party has been granted to Akhilesh Yadav. And that's not just granted, right? Election Commission has given the sole authority of Samajwadi Party to Akhilesh Yadav. In fact, the election symbol, the cycle, is now can only be operated by Akhilesh Yadav and not his father. One. Two, he claims that Akhilesh Yadav has no support within the Samajwadi Party and he is being ousted. But it's actually the other way around. Akhilesh Yadav has the support of 220 MLAs out of the 240 MLAs which exist there, and he has the entire support of those MLAs. And this is precisely why there was a rift, right? Because when Mulayam Singh Yadav ousted Akhilesh Yadav out of the party, Akhilesh Yadav went off with all those MLAs. Because of which Mulayam had to call him back, but Akhilesh said, no, I'm going to form my own party and I'm going to contest my own elections. But this is not really forming your own party, right? This is just taking over Samajwadi Party and ousting people like Mulayam Singh Yadav and like Shivpal Yadav, right? Three, We think the people who are being ousted are the problems because of which Akhilesh Yadav's image was possibly hampered in the past, right? The people who are ousted are people like Mulayam Singh Yadav, Shepal Yadav and Amar Singh. These are the very goons of the party because of which the image of the party has been spoiled in the past. These are the people because of which the developmental agenda which Akhilesh Yadav wanted to foresee was not being able to, was not happening at all. We think all these three reasons ensure that Akhilesh Yadav can fight the elections as Samajwadi Party because he is the president of Samajwadi Party and he can win those elections, right? But moving on, and these factual errors are really problematic from their side of the house, and for a good debate in the final, it's important that they come up with right facts, right? No. Moving on. Let's see how things will pan out to be if Akhilesh Yadav joins BJP and whether there's any scope of BJP winning elections with Akhilesh Yadav as a CM, right? We think there are five reasons because of which BJP can never win. The first two are related to why there's a perception of BJP which itself is problematic, right? This is primarily for two reasons. He mentions in his speech of how BJP won elections in 2014 in UP. And that's a great thing, and that happened, right? We can't deny that. But what people expect post that is that they expected sudden development to happen in UP, something which did not happen at all. Something which did not happen at all because of which the perception of BJP has been spoiled in UP. Secondly, everyone knows this. Demonetization has caused major issues to BJP in entire UP. People have major issues with demonetization and especially the poor, right? And when they come up here and tell you that they have consolidated the poor vote bank, it's in fact the other way around. They have gotten rid of the poor vote bank simply because of the kind of policies they have been passing through, right? Thirdly, right, BJP's image has also been spoiled because of the lack of effort it has put in Manrega and other policies which were welfare schemes which were being followed by previous parties for a long point of time, right? Congress got so much support in a lot of areas because of the welfare policies that passed. When people voted Modi in, they thought he would also follow some policies, but he simply got rid of those policies because of which the poor don't like Modi at all. We think that's another major issue, right? But moving on, right? And for the next two arguments and characterization is in order, right? Who do you think votes in Akhilesh Yadav and who do you think votes in Samajwadi Party, right? These are the people who are OBC, Yadavs and Muslim. These are the three main sections of our society who vote in Akhilesh Yadav and who vote in SP, right? The problem with that is that one, the moment Akhilesh Yadav joins BJP, he'll be ditching the voter bank which voted him into power 5 years ago, right? Primarily because the voter bank which belongs to BJP is the upper caste Hindus who are always at conflict with OBC, Muslim and Yadavs, right? We think that ditching of voter bank is a major issue which also comes out from their house, right? Two, Akhilesh Yadav will also be ditching the MLAs who have been fighting for him for so long, who left Mulayam Singh Yadav for him and pledged their allegiance towards him, right? Why? Because Akhilesh Yadav, because all these MLAs are also Yadavs, Muslims and OBCs who have also been at rifts with the upper caste, right? We think that's another major issue. And when he joins the party, these MLAs will ensure that Akhilesh Yadav doesn't win the election because they will see it as a betrayal of faith of what Akhilesh Yadav did. We think that's another issue, right? Three, we think upper caste BJP vote bank will also not be giving vote to Akhilesh because they will see him as a guy who is representative of Yadavs only and an outsider who doesn't know the problems these upper caste Hindus face. We don't see any reason why they will get any vote, right? Fourthly, we think a lot of leaders have been vying for the position of chief ministerial candidate in UP, right? Rajnath Singh has actively expressed his desire to be the UP CM candidate, right? We think when someone as big as Rajnath Singh does that, we don't see any reason why he would put his guard down and start supporting Akhilesh Yadav in his venture, right? But more than that, we don't see any reason why the cadre of BJP, which also is upper caste and believes in those values of RSS, will start supporting a Yadav Muslim vote bank guy, right? And that's really strange when Mridul says that he'll suddenly have the support of all the cadre and will have grassroots help, right? I don't see why this grassroots help will be there. Lastly, right, we also think that the voter is also informed in these days, right? And this informed voter knows in social media of the kind of things which pan out, right? And this informed voter knows the kind of shit which Akhilesh Yadav has been saying for the past 4 years regarding BJP. This voter knows that this guy has hated BJP through and through, and we don't see any reason why this voter also will vote BJP. With your PI.
Don't you think the organization structure and vote bank of the SP will be split down the middle the movement?
Okay, and that's the thing, right? They think it's a 50-50 split in which Mulayam gets one half and Akhilesh Yadav gets one half. But that's not actually true. 90% of the party is with Akhilesh Yadav and the 10% has been ousted by Mulayam Singh Yadav. That's exactly why Akhilesh Yadav was the winner out of this entire rift which happened, and the election commission's news today precisely shows that because they got the partition despite the fact that Mulayam Singh Yadav was the party president. But now moving on, let's see and understand the impact which will happen on Akhilesh Yadav's political life, right? One, we think Akhilesh Yadav will have no avenue to function independently, right? Why was it that there was a rift between him and Mulayam Singh Yadav? Because he wasn't allowed to function independently under the party, right? He wasn't allowed to do what he wanted, and he was rather controlled by Shivpal Singh, right? We think the moment he joins the party, he'll be controlled by people like Amit Shah and Modi, who don't want anyone else rising in power, right? Rising in power. People like Vasundhara Raje, Shivraj Singh Chauhan have been waiting for a nod for BJP, nod from Modi or the High Command whenever they want to pass a policy. They don't get this nod because Modi doesn't want them to develop. Two, we think rising within ranks from BJP is itself problematic for Akhilesh Yadav, right? We think Akhilesh Yadav's ambition is not simply to stay in the hole which is UP, and keep on contesting UP elections. He wants to move on to the national power. We don't think that will happen given the clout which Modi has, right? Two, we think also the sycophants which Modi has all around him, they will also not allow Akhilesh Yadav to develop and move forward, right? This is primarily because of the fact that they see Modi as the only sole leader. This is especially true given that whenever there is an election, they don't project a CM candidate, but in fact show Modi as the guy who does all the good work, right? And that's another issue. Fourthly, we think Akhilesh Yadav will never be able to revolt against the BJP when he has a problem, right? He won't be able to do so because his character will be assassinated. Thank you.
I invite the Deputy Prime Minister to come. This way.
This debate sounds very good when you look at isolation in terms of the fact that joining BJP has certain compromises or costs, things that I will engage with. But you don't take into account the practical bounds within which this individual is faced and what is the best alternative within that he would have to pick given that the elections are in 2 months. Losing these elections, Mr. Speaker, at the correct time is exactly why your political career dies, which is exactly what happened to Rahul Gandhi. He didn't win the election at the right time and now he's a joke, which is exactly why we think that winning this particular election is something that's crucial for you. When they say development is important, when they say there are certain policies that we want to enact, etc., etc., you can enact it irrespective as long as you have those 2022 MLAs that you want. On our side, we will show you where is it beneficial for you to get those MLAs from, and that's where the debate starts, right? This idea, what is it that they say? They say, listen, he controls 90% of, like, say, for example, the SP, which is exactly why probably he was thrown out, in and out, like 5 times. We're telling you that the fact that he was elected last time was because he is my son, and therefore I want you to vote for him. He is the figurehead. Mulayam ji is literally a personality cult that exists to the extent that he's told people that if you want a better, like, say, for example, UP, I will stand against my own son but ensure that this party, that the Samajwadi Party wins. And what is he working on? He's working on the idea of the Samajwadi Party. What is Akhilesh? And understand this, Akhilesh throughout has had a different policy. Unlike his father, he hasn't gone for, say, for example, caste or class politics. He's gone for the idea of development, etc., etc. His ideology has always been development and isolated from the idea of Samajwadi Party. So is he actually losing anything in terms of ideology by shifting away? No, he isn't. Which is why people like his policy, right? But let's talk about other ideas that they say. They say, listen, it's a large dent on your political career. Why is it not? In politics, literally everything is okay. The fact that a Menka Gandhi can stand from BJP despite the fact that the Prime Minister's son's her husband, which is from Congress, and win it is because in a political career, what doesn't matter isn't what party you're standing from. But the fact that you win that election, your electoral, like, say, for example, success and the longevity of your career is what matters. And let's analyze for a moment where is it that that winning comes from and like the problems that they said. They said, listen, UP, like in UP, BJP doesn't have the votes. they're lying to you. The fact that something like as severe as demonetization, yeah, you can laugh, as severe as demonetization hurts the poor so much, but the poor still aren't rioting, is because the narrative that Modi has built is largely because of a sacrifice for a larger good. That black money will end and will come to the poor, which is why the poor vote has still gone to BJP. Then they say, no, there's this diametric opposition to the Muslims and Hindus. If I were to buy the characterization, BJP has no Muslim vote. Let me talk about current affairs then. What is BJP recent plan in UP? To initiate the triple talaq ban. What this did was to largely bifurcate the voter base, and this is where I'm giving you demographic analysis. Largely bifurcate the Muslim vote from SP and take it there because they're initiating a Muslim cause. What Dalits care for is not to say I will not vote for him because they also belong to the higher caste, but whoever will bring me tangible change. And that's how voting works in real politics. Come and engage with that idea. Second, we think that MLAs will leave you. Where will MLAs leave you? When you form an independent party and they know that there is a likelihood that you will lose, or the fact that they know that at any point your father, who's still the chairperson, mind you, giving you the cycle doesn't mean that you're the president of the party, can throw you out at any minute. The likelihood of them understanding that your success is any longer there is less. BJP, on the other hand, has the narrative, has the Muslim vote, has the upper caste vote as they themselves talk about, and has 140, let's say for example, seats in the national, let's say for example, elections. Their responses, but they never got development, so people hate them. There's a difference between being the chief minister and being an MP. Understand that. They want national elections, not being the chief minister. You're the chief minister, right? But the other idea, they say, listen, but they give you the cycle, and that means a lot. The cycle has never meant anything to you because the ideology of the cycle isn't something that you've pushed for. You've always drifted away from it. But the value of that is not derived from now you control Samajwadi Party. The fact that you're given a logo doesn't mean that you hold the voter base or the ideology that your father holds. Therefore, the intrinsic value to that, let's say, logo doesn't really exist on their side of the house. Then they say, listen, and here's where we talk to you about more about voters. At the moment in UP, people don't know what to expect. The point at which this person is ousted and put back in every minute, they don't know whether this particular person will have the say as, say for example, within SP. So should we give him the ticket? Probably BJP will be better because we like this person, but we think that the system within which he's placed is so entrenched that he might not have a say. Why would people think the other way around? Because BJP is already picking issues that we want, plus this guy is also going to BJP, and the reason for why he will have a bargaining power there is because unlike, say, BJP in any other state, BJP has always had lost control than, like, say, for example, Akhilesh Yadav. And Akhilesh Yadav is going to uniquely bring that form of voter base to them. As long as, and this is where we analyzed you, right? As long as he has the bargaining chip, which is why this motion is what BJP will offer. You will accept. You have the terms of what is it that you want. As long as you guarantee BJP those seats, you can take your MLAs with you and work there and have the flexibility that you have for long wanted. And that is where you analyze him as the primary stakeholder and not what happens largely to the population. Your POI.
Okay, on one hand you say that demonetization led to consolidation of poor vote banks, a national policy. On the other hand, you say people aren't expecting development from BJP. How do both these things work together?
People like demonetization, people expecting development from BJP, how they're related. They expect development is not monetization, demonetization can also be development, poor POI. The second idea, they say, listen, we think that within UP it's bad to go on to BJP because the moment you go on to BJP has an RSS cadre which works specifically for them, so they will deny it. The nature of political power is such that you shift your stances at every particular moment as long as you get that electoral success and then do what you want. This cadre is paid. This cadre is forced to do what they want to. They're told what they want to do. They're not literally supposed to listen to everything. The point at which BJP goes, and this is how propaganda in politics works, and says, go, let's say, for example, talk to the higher caste Hindu, and as well as go ahead and convince the Muslim. These cadres are at the beck and call of BJP. And why is it problematic? Because the point at which you dissociate, and SP can throw you out at any moment, the point at which you don't accept BJP to, and you have 3 months, what is the only alternative you're left with? To form an independent party. What happens then? These aren't trivial issues. The fact that I need to look for a logo, I need to look for a voter base, the point at which they won't understand whether an independent party will be as strong and will only have one individual, or the fact that I need my cadre to go door to door and explain to them why is it that I want to be elected is something that you cannot afford in status quo, something that BJP is giving you on the plate because you are Akhilesh Yadav. And you will cease to be Akhilesh Yadav the point at which you lose this election, and that likelihood is much larger on their side. What else do they talk to you about? They say, listen, we think that as long as he has the cycle, he literally has all of the control and he can do whatever he likes. Except the point is this. The reason for why he has that cycle, or the reason for why he will have it, is only to do with ideology. Tomorrow, if he keeps shut and there is a cycle, that won't win him the
yeah.
election. He has to talk about tangible change that he will bring. The point at which you can convince people, irrespective of whether you belong to BJP or SP, of the tangible change you can bring while having the comfort of the BJP. Why is that something that we should discount on this side of the house? Is something that they have to tell you as an alternative. They haven't been able to do that. It's simply proud to oppose.
Whenever you're all ready. Who's keeping time? Yeah, give me a clear minute now. I will begin by answering the question Taufique left with us, right? Please understand what the perception of BJP, something that Krishnesh spent some time talking about, is. It's a very top-heavy party. When we talk about people such as Shivraj Singh, when we talk about people such as Vasundhara Raje, when we talk about people such as Raman Singh, who have worked their ass off in this party, but are still waiting for diktat from the top, we think that this is what a puppet regime necessarily looks like, right? Everybody thinks that Modi and Singh control what the others do. And understand the problem Mridul pointed out in the beginning, right? He comes and tells you the problem that Akhilesh Yadav has is that he's being treated like a puppet in the party. And the solution for that is he will go into another party where he's again seen as a puppet, to which Taufique comes and tells you, you know what, people vote on ideology and what he stands for. So now our major question for them becomes, when his ideology is that of independence, when his ideology is that of not being somebody who's taking diktat from the top, who's taking orders from the top, how is it that he fits into the BJP scheme of things? Something that they must answer. And this is where they don't understand Krishnesh's speech. When he comes ahead and tells you that 220 out of 250 MLAs have pledged allegiance to Akhilesh Yadav, and now he also holds ownership of the party, which by the way, by the virtue of the EC Election Commission granting him that cycle which they make fun of, he now runs the party. Mulayam Singh has been out. The other 12%, because 88% is and 90% isn't 220, are people who are no longer a part of that party, right? We fail to see how they come up and give you random assertions that, oh, what if he is kicked out of BSP tomorrow? Oh, sorry, what if he is kicked out of Samajwadi Party tomorrow? Tell us who will kick him, and Mulayam Singh Yadav and people who essentially oppose his idea are no longer in the picture. Now understand the perception that this has created for Akhilesh, right? Akhilesh is now being seen as a strong independent leader who can fight elections on his own terms, who talks about development for the Yadavs and the OBCs, and is also trying to look at other groups who are looking for development that BJP hasn't given. To which they answer, oh no, because of demonetization, riots did not happen. One, which is factually absolutely incorrect. When we talk about development and problems because of demonetization, understand UP is an extremely poor state. They were badly affected by this. Because of this, there have been mass riots. There is a huge perception against BJP right now. And when they talk about the RSS cadre, right? Recently, when they were talking about passing bills in UP, the RSS cadre themselves, in Maharashtra, the RSS cadre themselves and said that we don't want to side with BJP. We don't think that they are doing enough things to ensure that development necessarily happens. Something that they must answer. Sit down. Apart from that, they come and talk to you about this whole idea of isolation and practical bounds, and they don't tell us how these practical bounds necessarily function, right? They don't tell us why, when he has massive support in the party, somehow they will suddenly leave his support when he decides to go ahead and compete as SP with a guy who has a positive image, who is seen as a guy who's doing away with bad things, who doesn't take diktats from the top, who is working for the Yadavs, who is going to work for development, and who is the antithesis of what BJP essentially stands for in a state where BJP no longer is liked, right? Apart from that, and this is a problem, they don't really target anything that we talk about, right? We talk about the perception of Akhilesh. Understand, in order for Akhilesh to win this election, and this is where we have a problem with them, right? We think a myopic view of saying that just winning elections is the only thing that is important for a particular candidate is the good thing. We don't think we agree with that, right? We think a long-term view is very necessary in this regard. We think if he sides with the BJP right now, after his rants on social media, everywhere where he's gone ahead and said that BJP is basically a cunt and Modi is the worst man to be alive, when he goes ahead and aligns with these guys, he is necessarily seen as a hypocrite, right? He is necessarily seen as a guy who does not stand for any principles per se, but is looking for power. We fail to see how in that regard, suddenly because he's joined BJP, he will be somebody who's respected. Another question that they don't answer is that within the BJP power, if he has to grow, how does he deal with people such as Rajnath Singh, who've been sitting for a while, right? Within BJP party, if he wants to grow to a national level, how is it that he goes ahead and achieves that? We tell you that is something that he can't necessarily do, but he can change the narrative with the new SP, right? And which is where our burden today is not to show you that he will necessarily win the election with the BJP, but they have taken taken this burden, then they've come ahead and told you that he will necessarily win the election with BJP. Now understand two situations. One, where he wins the election with BJP and is not allowed to act in accordance with what he believes in. In that regard, he can no longer cry foul and say, no, mere saath galat hua, because suddenly his political career completely goes down the drain, because people now just see him as a crybaby who cannot essentially function in any party, right? And on a secondary level, we think in the event that he loses elections with BJP, he will be seen as somebody who is an outsider, somebody like Kiran Bedi, who now stays in Pondicherry because she has no political clout around her, right? We think it's a huge risk at this point to go ahead and side with a party that does not necessarily support your ideals. Now, for them to win this debate, they have to somehow also prove to us that BJP is someone who is appealing to the poorer parties as well. Because according to their own characterization, they talk about how BJP talks about development for the rich, which by the way they haven't managed to achieve, or something that they're already losing out on. But what about the Yadavs and the Gundas of UP, who apparently Akhilesh Yadav represents, who have voted him into power? Their burden then becomes, why is it that these people who hated BJP for so long will suddenly start liking BJP because Akhilesh Yadav has gone ahead and joined the BJP? And in that regard, their burden also then becomes to show us, when they talk about the BJP in essence, change its ideology to be in consonance with what Akhilesh Yadav stands for. Where they go ahead and say, oh, if he's in BJP, all the 220 MLAs come behind him. We don't think that's true. At the end of the day, those MLAs need to cater to their vote banks as well, right? And the moment they go ahead and side with right-wing ideas, side with development, we don't see how they're catering to their vote banks, and why essentially they will not go back to either Mulayam Singh or some other candidate in that regard, something that they haven't answered, right? Apart from that, we also talked to, okay, before that I'll take your view.
Okay, Sethi, given that the wishy-washy stance of the SP itself and the MLAs with him does not mean that he has the grassroots cadre of the SP, how does he plan to win the next election?
Again, we have told you that this wishy-washy stance no longer exists, because by virtue of the fact that the 12% of the people who don't support him are no longer a part of the SP. Something that you haven't contested, something that you accept in your first speech when you go ahead and say, yes, Election Commission has given him ownership of that. But coming to our other constructives, right? Understand, when we talk about this idea of use of this as a leverage, right? We think this is a great offer made by the BJP. We think he should in fact go ahead and now say, look, even the BJP wants me, right? And therefore increase his bargaining chip in that regard, and make sure that people notice that he is somebody who is wanted by them as well, because they see him as someone who can fulfill the agenda, and then go ahead and talk against BJP, right? Apart from that, we talk about this whole idea of shift in stances, right? And this is where I think they haven't engaged with any of the points that we brought up, right? What are the points we brought up? We brought you 12 lines of analysis, right? We've given you the idea of long-term term ramifications. We've gone ahead and talked about the idea of short-term and no surety of him winning the vote. We've told you on two levels why that is problematic, even if he wins the elections. We've told you that in the event that he does stand with BJP, why the people that he has supporting him will no longer support him. We've told you how the elected MLA, we've told you how, given that he's ranted on social media, given that his stance has always been anti-Modi, anti-Amit Shah, anti-anything that is closely associated with BJP, how he will be seen as a hypocrite. We've told you how those practical bounds that they talk about are not necessarily clear. In fact, they work in our favor, because then we turn around demonetization and tell them that, you know what, we as a smaller party have to suffer because of this. We as a smaller party are suffering because the big guy BJP decided to fuck us over, much like he fucked you over, right? Something that they again have to deal with. Their only case till now has been a massive assertion कि वहाँ पे riot नहीं होता, कि वहाँ पे ऐसे नहीं होता, और पता है, for some reason even necessarily even with BJP, they have to now conclusively tell you how those voter bases work together. When two polars are there, when this guy gets stuck in the middle, why either of them will gravitate towards his side, how he will grow within the BJP party structure, what are the long-term growths for him, and why is this election the be-all and end-all for him, right? Where we go ahead and talk about other leaders who often come up, and this is an even if, right? We don't think he will not win, but in the event that he doesn't win, at least he has his integrity, at least he has a support. For all those reasons, Dhruv Sethi no longer from Ramjas incredibly proud to oppose.
इधर से नहीं इधर
Alright, before moving on to thematization, I'll look at where the constructive case inside opposition is predicated upon. One is the idea on the perception of BJP and whether it's a bad perception. Assuming it's a bad perception, if you go with them, you're seen as a hypocrite, where there are two lines of argumentation, why you've tweeted that Modi is a cunt, and secondly, that you lose your supporters. The second answer that we had to have, since they've taken the burden of an alternative, where both sides have to show a reasonable chance based on the metric that Mridul provides to you right in Prime Minister. How do you win election? There's a certain metric and a certain capability that you need to have to win election. He lays out that metric for you, and if you have access to that capabilities, you win an election. And that's the burden of both sides, since they've accepted that metric. They can't just say, हमें तो बस इतना दिखाना है, तुम्हें ज़्यादा दिखाना है. Alright, since they've accepted that metric, both sides have to show you where does the reasonable chance of Akhilesh Yadav winning election rests upon, based on their accessibility towards certain capital. Alright, on lastly, the idea of whether, and like the vote bank politics. Now, personally, in terms of perception of BJP, they say that you want independence. Again, vague terms, you want independence as Akhilesh Yadav. You're denied that independence within BJP because it's a top-down approach party. Let's analyze those ideas and let's look at the analysis that comes from their side. They say Shivraj Chauhan and Vasundhara Raje have to phone Modi before taking every decision. Except they're still 3-time, 2-time chief minister. They're still people within the party. Why? Simply because the political success that they have are guaranteed by being member of a national political party, and the room that is allowed for them to be developing as local leaders, as national leaders, and as state leaders within those stances as Shivraj Chauhan. That's the reason why they haven't left BJP. That's the reason they're still 2-time, 3-time chief minister and still going strongly in those parties, because the room of independence is allowed to them and the electoral success guaranteed to them by access to certain advantages that the BJP offers to them. Therefore, when their idea of independence is vague, and we've shown you why that independence, whether it be in terms of like having accessibility to ability to win election and national traction by saying Modi ka photo and Akhilesh Yadav ka photo on all posters, your ability to win election is guaranteed. Therefore, that top-down approach and independence being vague terms aren't being determined or aren't being underlined in this case. Goes out of the window. Now, in terms of whether he has a control of Samajwadi Party or not, they say sit down. They say sit down. EC ruling, 220 MLAs are with you. Therefore, you have control over 88% of the party. No, those 220 MLAs aren't MLAs for life. They are going to elections in 2 months. So therefore, their ability to be MLAs is going to be decided in 2 months. And party is not equal to the number of MLAs you have. Party is equal to the grassroots level, the structure, how many cars you have, how many speakers you have access to, how many local leaders you have access to. That's the party, not the like motorbike or cycle or 220 MLAs. When the MLAs are going to election in 2 months in and of itself, so therefore you can't do anything with 220 people if they lose elections in the next 2 months. And that's the argument. Therefore, sit down. Therefore, the argument about 220 MLAs, like EC ruling giving you every control of party, goes out. Therefore, there's further analysis about how this is going to let you win elections simply because you have 220 MLAs is something that they had to analyze far more. Let's see how they've done that. In terms of you are seen as a hypocrite simply because, and let's see how you are seen as a hypocrite. And there's a reason Mridul begins with Menaka Gandhi example right in Prime Minister, because people don't give a flying fuck about how many tweets you make. BJP in a poor country, people don't check. Akhilesh said down, Akhilesh Yadav's tweet history, he said BJP is a cunt, he's a hypocrite, I won't vote for them. That's the problem. That's how you look at vote bank politics, where they say vote bank, they have A, you have B. Therefore, you can only have A or B, except the moment you combine A and B, because A is related to one party, B is related to a leader, and you combine them under the narrative of you fighting for A and B under the paradigm of development, you ensure A plus B, not necessarily A or B. And that's the argument, A being say upper caste, B being Muslims and OBCs. Once you combine them under the narrative of development, A comes to you because of BJP, B comes to you because of Akhilesh Yadav. All narratives that they've agreed to. Therefore, you enhance vote bank politics, not necessarily putting them on a trade-off between this or that. Alright, so that goes to us. Now, in terms of you lose your supporters. Why do you lose your supporters? Let's look at analysis on their side. Because they also have vote banks. Except how are you losing their vote bank? You're enhancing their vote bank by giving them access to another vote bank. BJP leaders, that's the analysis that we have, and that's the analysis that they haven't engaged with at all. The reason this motion is about BJP offering you, allows you certain route in terms of deciding candidates. When you can give ticket to a SP MLA who's with you, who's your supporter, you're ensuring that the BJP candidate does not stand in election in that district. Therefore, people who want to vote for BJP under the tag of party BJP will vote for him simply because that MLA, irrespective of his Akhilesh Yadav, he's also Modi's friend. Therefore, if they want to vote for Modi, they'll still vote for him. Therefore, B is ensured simply because coming from Akhilesh Yadav's party and is fighting for OBCs and Muslims as well, ensures 20 seconds. Also ensures that the A vote bank that you want to have is ensured. Therefore, you're not losing any supporters because you still have the ability to ensure that what your supporters, what are these, like again, vague terms like supporters. Supporters are say MLAs who are up for elections. How do you ensure that after election you get them a ticket? Your room that you have in terms of the BJP being desperate to ask for you ensures that you can get them that ticket. Once you can get them the ticket, you don't lose those supporters. Therefore, the last argument comes on their side. Is in terms of will the BJP change its idea? I don't know why they need to change their ideas, what these ideas are, and what those ideas need to be changed in the first place. Therefore, we don't think there's an analysis on their side from that side. Now, in terms of what are the two major ideas and the two metrics on which you touch this debate.
Tell me this, when Muzaffarnagar riots happened and BJP didn't do anything about that, tell me why Muslims will be enhanced, will have enhanced vote banks now?
Arey Baba, because Akhlaq dying does not ensure, or me opposing Akhlaq's death by BJP does not ensure I have food on my table tomorrow. That's the reason, that's the primary idea why despite Gujarat, Muslims still voted for Modi into power. Despite the fact that Gujarat had happened and is seen as the upper caste people, poor people still vote for Modi. That's the reason, because those political issues aren't divided on one incident that ever happened in history. And that's the reason why Indira Gandhi came to power right after emergency 2 years later with like the biggest mandate that she ever had, simply because her ability to garner people, those basic necessities they want under the paradigm of development is still ensured. That's why the Muslims will vote for you. And if the Muslims are constrained or like reflected towards you on the idea of, sit down. Secondly, in terms of the idea of what the politician want, we've actually given you the metric, and that's what they agree to. They can't say in DLO, but why is this election the death of him if it doesn't happen? That's because we told you right in Prime Minister. Because your ability and your political legacy and your cult as a leader is built upon your electoral success. That's why Rahul Gandhi, despite being as good as he is, will always be a joke simply because his ability to lead Congress into win in 2014 was never ensured. That's why his opposition demonetized will always be trifled. And that's why the reason we argue. No, I have taken one. Sit down. You had the chance in your speech. Now, in terms of electoral success, we believe that's the ability of an electoral leader to have accessibility to political office to ensure a cult and a leadership is built around him. And that's the reason, that's how you judge this debate. Now in terms of this election, why these elections fundamentally important? Because the reason what Akhilesh Yadav is doing, his last elections fight was based on the idea that मैं मुलायम सिंह यादव का बेटा हूँ. These elections that he's going to be fighting on his own merit. Therefore, it's being determined his ability to garner into political attention and political viability as an alternative to say Mulayam Singh Yadav. Which for you to understand the narrative that's going to come out from Mulayam Singh Yadav as well. He said that I'm going to contest elections against him, my own son. So he's also going to use this emotional narrative building on the Indian family values. मेरे बेटे ने धोखा दे दिया. That's the opposing narrative that's going to come out from Samajwadi Party as well. In that scenario, what do you need? Which is the metric that Mridul gives you right in Prime Minister. You need something to win election. It's local level leaders. It's in terms of capital, because capital ensures visibility where you are in every house in terms of pamphlets. In terms of cards, to provide those pamphlets to those people in the first place. How do you get that in an independent party? In an independent party, win elections in 2 months. EC also announced the February election. You should also mention that. In 2 months, you don't know what you will have. You have control over the MLAs. You don't know how many cars do you have of SP to provide pamphlets to those people. You need that capital. You don't have it as an independent party. You don't know what you have. You don't have what grassroots leaders do you have the support of. You don't know what foreign policies that you can enhance as these. Whereas with BJP, you get the support of the MPs from the 2014 election as well as the MLAs that are with Mulayam Singh Yadav. You have the ability of a cadre that's spread out across the world or spread out across the country. That's why Modi could win election so big, because Modi was everywhere. That's the work of the cadre. That's where Akhilesh will be everywhere. And lastly, when you can stifle that political hypocrisy by simply deleting those tweets, you think the whoever is still working.
Rishabh.
Star boy.
Who's timing? Yeah. So they, everyone ready? Yeah. So they try to run away with this idea that okay, like if SP has the Chunav Chin, which was the major point of contention, which has been going on from the first speech, right? What has been the major point of contention between Mulayam Singh Yadav and Akhilesh Yadav? That's the problem with their side of the house, right? They're still living 5 years ago when Mulayam Singh Yadav had control of the party and Akhilesh Yadav did not come to power. Akhilesh Yadav did not have a support base. Akhilesh Yadav was not CM at that time, right? But that's the idea, right? Akhilesh Yadav from that point on has gained support. Akhilesh Yadav has control of the 88% of the party. Then they come up with trivial arguments and say that okay, we need cars, we need money to function elections. But tell me if Akhilesh Yadav does gain control of the party, like where will the cars go? Will they sell all cars in a single day and suddenly like all the cars will go away and like we won't have money to run elections? Because the idea is if he does gain control of the party, then we believe that all the resources and the resources are like, that's what they need to understand. How do resources of a party work? Resources of the party are individually distributed between MPs, and how MLAs function. Every MLA has a certain amount of resources available with him. Every MLA has a certain amount of funds allocated to him where the MLA can go ahead and actually run elections, where the MLA can go ahead and actually fight elections. Because that's the idea, right? Akhilesh Yadav has the support of these MPs. Akhilesh Yadav has a certain amount of voter base rising, and they do accept it, right? Because not a single argument from their side has been conclusively proven to you why he can't win an SP. And Yash in his last speech completely dumps the idea of how BJP might win elections. You can check your sheets, right? Because that's the idea, right? The idea is that we need to juxtapose two parties here, the Samajwadi Party and the BJP, right? And what has Akhilesh Yadav been running on since day one, right? Akhilesh Yadav has been saying that he wants to be an independent candidate. Akhilesh Yadav wants to go ahead and fight elections on a mandate which is given to him independently and can work for the development. And we have given you so many examples as to why a person inside the BJP cannot work independently. Because that's the idea. Because if Akhilesh Yadav cannot work independently inside BJP in itself, the personal growth of Akhilesh Yadav will necessarily be stifled. And that goes ahead to ties up to our next argument when we told you and received no rebuttals as to how Akhilesh Yadav will be at a point in time where he can go ahead and never cry wolf again. Because the idea is that Akhilesh Yadav has already said that he didn't get independence, and when he joins BJP and looks for power, people will see him as the person who is power hungry and wants to move on. And Akhilesh Yadav has expressed in many statements that he wants to gain power he wants to gain power in national elections, and we don't see that happening inside the BJP, right? Because that's the thing. Akhilesh Yadav has a necessary and very good chance of winning elections through the Samajwadi Party, and we'll be giving you examples as to how the Muslim voter base won't suddenly shift towards the BJP, right? Because there are MLAs existent who wanted seats inside the BJP. There are MLAs of Akhilesh Yadav who wanted seats inside the Samajwadi Party. So this kind of paralysis that will go on, this kind of paralysis as to which MLA will go ahead and get seats is necessarily going to stifle the growth of the convergence of these two ideas in itself. And when this convergence cannot go ahead and work together, we believe that it's a necessary chance that the power vacuum is created and parties such as Samajwadi Party, which is left behind, or Ahuja Samajwadi Party, can go ahead and win elections. Because the thing is, they can't conclusively prove to you that BJP will definitely win elections. We've proven to you how Samajwadi Party will win elections. But consider this. Consider the factor that Akhilesh Yadav can possibly lose elections in BJP. Akhilesh Yadav can possibly lose elections in Samajwadi Party. What is the better case scenario for his personal growth? The better case scenario for his personal growth is that he went as an independent candidate. He went ahead and fought his father. He went ahead and has integrity rather than switching parties with the BJP. Imagine this. He will go ahead and be kicked out from the BJP. He will go ahead and not ever gain a chief ministerial candidate from the BJP. And he will lose all the lineage that he exists with the Yadavs and the Muslims, and he will never gain that voter base back. Because that's the thing. If the voter base and Taufique comes up and tries to run away with this idea that things change every day, right? And that's why they don't consider how UP is different from the entire country, and that's what the entire Dhruv speech was all about, right? People inside UP vote on caste baselines. People inside UP vote on religious. Sit down. People inside UP based on religious baselines, and when people do that, they can't go ahead and shift in a certain aspect, because incidents like Dadri happened, right? Where people don't have such futile memories where they will vote for a party that went ahead and did nothing for them, right? Because to conclusively prove that BJP will win elections, they went ahead and tried to justify that the Muslim vote will come, and they have failed to do that, right? And who is the incumbent party right now? Incumbent party is Samajwadi Party, and the incumbent MLAs are with Akhilesh Yadav. So what is the propensity of him winning, right? That the incumbent MLAs go ahead and win again. Because the thing is, if the incumbent MLAs are going ahead and supporting Akhilesh Yadav, he's inserted this kind of persona for himself where he can go ahead and say that I will lead to a certain amount of development, and this thing cannot be possible when he goes ahead and joins hands with BJP. Because the thing is that they haven't told us how these MLAs will necessarily switch shift. They will offer him a ticket. That is why the MLA will suddenly shift parties, right? This MLA won't necessarily shift parties because the MLA has its own voter base. That's what they don't consider and don't tackle even once in the entire debate. Each MLA has their own voter base. Each MLA is affiliated to the party. That is why the voter bases are in fact linked with the MLA, right?
Okay, Rishabh.
This kind of diametric drawing has to be considered, because the idea is that if you don't consider the voter bases and how they vote, you can't go ahead and necessarily prove that how elections will happen. But here, with the SP, we can necessarily prove that Akhilesh Yadav necessarily has the support of the MLAs, and the MLAs have their voter bases. So the propensity of Akhilesh Yadav winning is more. And they said Chunav Chin is not
Last
important,
chance.
right? That's what the major contention point has always been, the Chunav Chin. The major contention point in Indian election is always the Chunav Chin, and how the people actually go ahead and vote on this line.
Why are you zooming an absence of negative campaigning to Akhilesh Yadav's independent party by Mulayam Singh, by BSP, by BJP, by Congress?
See, that's the idea.
Yeah.
Mulayam Singh has already lost the verdict by the Supreme Court. Mulayam Singh's entire point of contention has already been put down the drain. And Mulayam Singh is a person who has been independent from the party for the past 5 years in itself, right? And Mulayam Singh is now seen as a person who's stifling development in itself. Because the thing is, when Mulayam Singh Yadav didn't go ahead and do any development for the first 3 years of the Samajwadi Party regime, we feel that after 2 years, when Akhilesh Yadav started gaining in power, people have seen him as a person working towards this development, right? And people will necessarily drift towards Akhilesh Yadav. People will necessarily vote for Akhilesh Yadav, even though the negative campaign may go on. Because the negative campaign has been silenced by the idea of him going ahead and being independent. So this independence will actually lead to Akhilesh Yadav gaining more votes. Because the thing is that in a scenario where Akhilesh Yadav has no personal growth, Akhilesh Yadav has a certain kind of stifling of his growth in the party, where he can't go ahead and aim for national elections. In a scenario where he loses in the BJP and they don't conclusively prove to you how the BJP will win, Akhilesh Yadav's political career will be over. But here he will be a hero who went ahead and stood with integrity and formed an independent party, a party that is go ahead and works for the poor, a party that goes ahead and works for the poor.
Whenever you're all ready. Again, same minute. Yash, सुन रहे? Yash. I find this really funny, right? They come and tell you that Mulayam Singh will oppose Akhilesh Yadav, but somehow as an independent candidate he will. In BJP he won't. In BJP he will suddenly say, no, very nice guy, he joined the party that he has hated. We think that gives him more bargaining chip in that regard to answer that way, right? Something that they must answer and must logically tell us why and how this works. To which their reply is, other parties don't have resources. But somehow Mulayam Singh has resources to go ahead and fight against Akhilesh Yadav, despite the fact that he's lost his party, despite the fact that he's lost 220 candidates, despite the fact that he no longer has any power, no longer has any control. And here's the funny thing, go back to my speech and Krishnesh's speech. When we go ahead and tell you that the reason why 220 people sided with Akhilesh over Mulayam is because Akhilesh has an independent image of his own. Where we go ahead and tell you that Akhilesh as a person is seen as an independent strong leader who does not go ahead and side with people who treat him as puppets. They go ahead and tell you, no, he should join BJP, and suddenly we treat it as puppets. Now let me put two scenarios in front of you. One, he wins the election, one, he doesn't win the election. In the case that he wins the election, which we think is highly improbable, because this has literally been their answer, right? Yash in his speech comes and tells you, and this is something that in my speech I had answered very clearly. Muslim guys love Akhilesh Yadav. Muslim guys hate BJP. To which his answer is talak hata diya. We don't know uske wajah pyar kyun karte hain unse. When we go ahead and talk about Yadavs logically being affected by demonetization, when we talk about poor people logically being affected by demonetization, when we talk about development agenda not happening, when we go ahead and talk about riots happening in these areas, when we talk about the fact that at the end of the day they voted an SP and not a BJP for in the state elections, we get no reply. The only reply we get is for some reason they also like the BJP, right? To which they come and tell you that okay, when he goes and sides with the BJP and says that you know what, I have given up on Yadavs, I have given up on Muslims, they will all think he's a really nice guy, and because they all think he's a really nice guy, they will suddenly take sides with him. Do we get any clarification as to how this voter bank politics, which is the main contestation of this debate, will necessarily play out? Something that they haven't told us in any of their speeches, right? But more importantly, here's the fact, right? We painted two scenarios for you. We tell you in the event that he loses, we don't have a myopic view as they do, right? We think he can still come for next election and still have this bargaining chip where he says, you know, the reason I didn't side with BJP is because at the end of the day, I don't want to be a puppet. He can still garner the kind of support he has with the people who essentially are his MLAs, which is something that they forget, right? We tell you these are 220 elected MLAs who are already in power, who have a positive image attached to them, right? They somehow tell us, no, the problem is they don't have cars. And I think this is ridiculous. This is a sign of them losing. They suddenly come and tell us, no, they don't have cars, they don't have resources, everything bad will happen. Again, preempted in my speech, when I go ahead and tell them because of demonetization, they can say that now, despite all of this, we don't have these resources, we don't have these things, right? One, we don't think that they don't have any resources whatsoever, something that they've tried to paint out. Second thing that they have to prove is that in the event that he loses in BJP, something that we've conclusively told you is a very high possibility, what happens to his career then on? We think a short-term view, which is not confirmed, is not something that he can necessarily rely on. Then he's seen as a hypocrite, then he can't grow within the party, because guess what? He will always be an outsider who's entered the party despite the fact that there have been 15-20 people who hate him because he said things against them, because they haven't grown in the party, and suddenly he's seen as a threat. Something again we don't get answers to. Third thing, we talk about the long-term view in terms of him wanting to go for national elections, right? He doesn't tell us how this growth within BJP will happen. We fail to see why, for becoming the CM of UP, he will suddenly give up all his ambitions of national growth, of growth within national parties, of being somebody who essentially is at that level, right? Apart from that, this whole idea of perception, right? And we tell you politics works on perception. His whole idea of perception not being important is absolutely ridiculous, right? We spend a good amount of time telling you the reason why people vote, and this is, I will quote Taufique here. He says that people vote on ideologies. Understand what ideologies stem out of? They stem out of perception. Perception stems out of what you have done, what you have said, and what your stance has been. So if for 4 years your stance has been anti-BJP, anti-Modi, you've gone on Twitter, you've gone on newsfeeds and written that no, BJP is a bad one, BJP is a bad one, then you've actively campaigned against them, and somehow you join them, they tell you perception will not be affected. Now in the event that they prove that he will conclusively win with BJP, we still don't see them winning, right? Because we still don't see other goals that are there which are being met. Other goals in the form of him being able to actually grow within, not only within the party, but also have control within BJP, and this is important. Understand, Akhilesh Yadav as a guy has stepped out of this party because at the end of the day, he hates the fact that he was treated as a puppet. When we talk about all these examples, there replies, oh, at least CM to hai na, MP nahi bane. More than that, they could not have their own policies. They have to listen to everything that Modi and Shah say. Their burden then becomes to tell us why is it that there's something that does not happen for all those reasons. Extremely proud to understand.
I got that. Yes, yeah. They've agreed to most things in this debate. They've said that it is a defining moment for Akhilesh Yadav. They've said that there are certain things that are important for him to win this, and that electoral success is crucial. The metric that Mridul says to you already, and that's a metric that they've already conceded to. Therefore, what is the debate about? The debate is about a comparative between what is it that best comes. Does it come with independent or like reworking your party, or does it come from BJP? And that's the comparative that you need to judge this debate on. And I will credit their arguments. On our side, we tell you that BJP, by their own admission, has the Hindu high class, is working on the Muslim population already, is not tainted by the idea of an internal strife amongst the public, therefore no confusion, and has a great national record, also like by the idea of the fact that they won most of the seats from you in national elections. On the comparative, what do you have on their side? You have an Akhilesh Yadav who has the OBCs and the Muslims, and let's deal with this for a moment. They say that, listen, you have the control, and this is Rishabh's speech is literally funny. He starts by saying that the father has lost everything and ends by saying that people will look at you in a bad light because you let go of that lineage that gave you power. If that lineage gives you power, why is it that now people don't control this? And this is exactly the problem with not analyzing things and giving examples. You're saying he has 220 MLAs, except understand this, that's not analysis for party control. MLAs are not party. The structure of the party, the cadre of the party, the vote bank which makes the MLA is what the party is built of. You can't say that these 220 MLAs or simply a court case means he won everything because he won the cycle, because the cycle is not what the party is made of. Therefore, they've given you no analysis based on the fact that the father doesn't literally have any control over this. If he doesn't, tell me why he had the ability to throw you out 4 times and bring you back and create that control, like confusion of internal strife that exists, right? Yeah. Let's talk about this. BJP, and there are 4 arguments, and I will credit it. BJP will also make you a puppet. BJP will make you a puppet. In name of analysis, they say Shivraj Patil. Why is it that the likelihood of a puppet, even if I concede to it, is much more on this side? Your father is fighting to you for 1 seat, and he said, I will stand against elections even if it is for this 1 seat. BJP has an incentive to align it and ensure that you win it, because for that, BJP means they're winning 1 state. Therefore, the fact of independence, and this is a funny buzzword that they've used throughout. What is this independence? What does this independence account for? Why is this independence not have the ability of coming from within a party and therefore having flexibility rather than having from an independent party? Independence doesn't mean independent party. It means having the flexibility while having the comfort and the ability to be able to win those elections. And that's something that they had to engage with, something that we gave as a metric. They said people will lose support, and this is again funny. We have a fixed vote bank, BJP has a fixed vote bank. If that was so, the idea of political competition is stupid, because the whole idea of me trying to do the triple talaq, and this isn't stupid, because Muslim people literally want you to pick Muslim issues. The fact that my husband can throw me out anytime is exactly why I think it's like a big issue for you to pick up things like patriarchy despite being BJP, and that's what appeals to me more. And this is why demonetization is also not stupid. The fact that I don't have food to eat while supporting BJP is cognizant of the fact that I see larger good in that, and that's how politics works, not in the idea of tweets and hypocrisy, where now I will check your tweet and then vote for you. By that logic, tell me why, like say for example, Navjot Singh Sidhu, who goes to Congress, goes to AAP and then comes back to Congress, still gets voted in, because it doesn't matter where you're from, when you have spoken about the idea that he's independent in terms of his ideology, and that's why people vote for him. If that were true, then tell me why you lose anything in terms of hypocrisy if you go there, because your ideology is still consistent no matter what, right? And that's something that they didn't engage with. The third idea, you don't have party, like you have party control because you have 220 MLAs, and then they use maths to say 82%, 82%. That's all analysis they gave you. We told you a party is made out of vote bank in terms of control, like say manpower, capital, speakers, etc., etc. This is not stupid, because my ability to convince you is what makes my idea far-reaching, not the fact that I have a good idea and I can sit inside a room. And that's why we think that give to you. The fact that you have an independent candidate, and this is where like Sethi trivializes it by saying you have some resources, except this debate isn't about some resources. So that I have enough resources to win it. The reason for why Modi is Modi as a cult figure is because the amount of visibility that BJP give him in terms of a cult leader again and again and again proves that that form of visibility is something that BJP can necessarily get for you. Last,